But for me, I don't believe in coincidences.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you.
So I felt that that was another one of those beautiful gifts that you get in the world when you're open to receive them, that really continue to remind you who you are and why you're here. I am truly a continuation of the woman that Grace Moore Alexander was, and her mother, Nancy Jumper Moore, who's from a line of African Americans who were never slaves in this country. And so these are the things, this is why people need to know their history, because I know from whence I came, but the major thing that drives my life is what my parents always taught me and my grandmother said. When you talk about acts of kindness, my grandmother used to have, some of you all have heard this, have homeless people sitting at her kitchen table. And we would come in and like, you don't know them. Why they in here? What are you doing? And she says, well, they're hungry and they need to eat. And you don't know, they could be Jesus. And I'm thinking, they don't look like no Jesus. I've seen it. This has been my personality my whole life. But what my grandmother and mother taught us was there's that scripture that says, you know, when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. And when I needed clothing, you didn't clothe me. And when I was in prison, you didn't come to visit me. And the people asked, well, when did I see you and clothe you and not go to prison to see you? And he said, whatever you did not do amongst the least of these, you did not do to me. And so I've always known we're all connected, and I've always known, because this is what they taught me, and I don't take everything they taught me. You all have to know this about me. I question everything. Some things I take, most things I take. Some things, my mother died at 48, and I paid attention to why that happened. And I'm not going to do that. I'm over 48 now, but I knew that there were certain things she did that put everybody first, never really took care of herself, didn't go to the doctor. It was all about what you need. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all about what you need too, but boo, what do I need? I'm going to take care of me, because the only way I can take care of you is if I'm well taken care of. Because it says, you know, I came into the world, and Jesus said to us, and if you all don't figure this out, I love Jesus, but he talked about that you really should try to love God with all your heart and your soul, your mind, your strength. And then to love your neighbor as yourself. And everybody drops off the as yourself like he didn't say it. And what it really says to me is, I can't love you if I'm not loving me. So I had to start learning what that was like. I don't think my mother realized that loving herself was key as well. Loving us was everything. So I didn't learn how to love me watching my parents. They sacrificed all the time. We always had somebody living in our house. What is that? I'm telling you, my whole life. My aunt moved in when I was 6, and she moved out in 1980. So we always had someone living in our house. Cousins came from Mississippi. They lived in our house till they got a job. Cousins came from Chicago, because my mother was about everybody going to college, not just her kids, everybody's kids. There are children that we knew growing up that we're in touch with now that will tell you the only reason they went to college is because they met Grace and Sam Alexander. That was their mission in life, not just their children, but every child they could have an opportunity to deal with. They've paid for children that were not theirs to go to college. That's what I come from. And people say you're always giving. I don't know how not to give. I have an abundant life because I'm willing to give some of it away. Last year, more than half of it. I saw my taxes and said, what the? Oh, we on TV. I said, what was I thinking? But I don't think about it. You know why? Because I will always have enough. Now, that's amazing to say that like I say it, but I say it with confidence. You know why? Because I will have what I say. So watch your mouth. You will have what you say. You may not have it when you want it, but you will have it right on time. That's the power that we inherited from God when he created us. He empowered us to do whatever comes into our mind to do, whether it's on the dark side or the light side or in between. I don't know what you believe, but you will have what you say if you believe it in here.
I like the way you put that.
I can sit here right now and say, I'm going to have Let me see what I'm going to have. But if I don't believe it, it's never going to happen. It's so simple. We make it difficult. It really is simple. But these are the lessons I learned just hanging out with Sam and Grace. What to do, what not to do.
You need to write a book, Hanging Out with Sam and Grace.
You know, that might be the title because I can't figure out the title. I've written half of it.
I think that's the title, isn't it? Hanging Out with Sam and Grace. I mean, I think Sam and Grace's life was so extraordinary. It not only impacted their children, but look at all the other lives it's impacted. You've impacted my life. I mean, you just think about that. And Sam and Grace, and that's what you need to think about is the legacy you leave behind, because we all do leave a legacy.
And truly, I'm not saying this because they're my siblings, but I'm the quiet one in my family.
Holy schmoly. I bet that's really interesting when you get all of you together. Well, I want to ask you, because I know everybody's curious about your company, Horizon Inc., and how you came to be there and what you do at Horizon, because I think that that's an important part of your journey, too. And I think you can tell there is so much to Wanda Alexander that we could be talking to her for months. But I want to get to that, too, and how you came to be part of that company and your journey out of college and what you ended up doing.
My story is funny, I think. I got kicked out. Remember I told you I got kicked out of college. And I went home and I'm like, Mama, like this, Mama. She's like, what now, Wanda? Because, you know, that's my life story. What now, Wanda? I'm like, look at this. I didn't even know. All of a sudden, I'm explaining, right? I'm just explaining, you know, just this is how I learned accountability. I learned it my whole life, but my mother hit me with this. And I just went, they didn't tell me this. And I don't know. And she looked at me and she said, whose education is it, theirs or yours? Then I suggest that you go back to that college and you talk to the dean and you get yourself back in, because you can talk yourself into anything. And I won't tell your daddy. Can you imagine that? And it's not till I got older that I realized what she had done. Because, you know, couples, my parents were really the best of friends, and they talked about their kids, trust me, behind closed doors, came out unified. You could not break them apart. And when she said, I won't tell your father, that was huge. When I tell you I got to Maryland as quickly as I could and got a meeting with Dean Mattingly, and by the time that meeting was over, I was back in college. Under the condition that I would leave his school of business. How ironic is that, right? Isn't that ironic? On one condition, Wanda, he said, you have to leave the school of business. And I knew he was right because, you know, after 2 years it was easy for me. Year 3, international finance, econ 3. It was not happening, right? And so he just talked to me about, what do you like to do? Talk. What do you find yourself doing all the time? I said, my room in my dorm is always full of people. I keep my door open. And he said, then I tell you where I think you need to go. I think you need to go to the Family and Community Development College. What is that? What is that? FMCD. What is that? He said, let me make a phone call. He got on the phone. No. Yeah, I have a student here. I think she's a good fit for you. Yeah. Oh, you're in the office now? Can I send her down now? I think you should enroll her in your college. Okay. I'm going to send her down now. Thanks, guy. Hung up the phone. You need to go down 3 buildings down. You'll look up, it'll say Family and Community Development. Go in there and look for Dr. Noel Myritz. And that's what I did. And when he told me I had to be there for 3 more years, I said, oh no, that is not the plan. We had to figure out how I can go through this program and get out of here with my classmates. So I got a Bachelor of General Studies from the University of Maryland. So for years, I didn't tell people that. In fact, I didn't even have a diploma up on the wall. I'm like, general studies. Because, you know, they design a program for you, get your credits. I took all family law, family communication. I did all that kind of stuff. And I never would tell people, oh, yeah, I got my bachelor's from Maryland. That was the extent of general studies. What is that? Nobody understands what that is. Guess what, guys? They have a college of general studies at the University of Maryland now. And you know what the dean says? She says she can recognize a general studies student because they're ambitious, they're communicative, and they're natural-born leaders. So now, where'd you go to school? University of Maryland, bachelor's in general studies.
amazing? A lot of companies do look for people who have that kind of more general, broad background rather than specialization. And studies show that more than 70% of college graduates do not work in their field of study. So,
Wow.
so the statistics show you that. We go through one track. So I think we kind of come into school maybe in a track we're not really sure. We have a general idea, and then life's experience takes us down a different road. So what was your first job out of college?
Out of college? Because I've worked since I was 14.
Well, share some of your jobs with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. My first job was at a daycare center, Washington, D.C. Remember I told you my mother got jobs for women on welfare? She got jobs for her children, too. Go ahead, Grace. She got jobs for all 5 of her children. So my first job at the age of 14 with a work permit signed by both of my parents was at a daycare in D.C. And I didn't know anything about taking care of children. Yeah, I was a very selfish little girl. It was all about me, Pippi Longstockings, me and Madeline, me and Curious George, me and Dr. Seuss. I didn't need anybody else. I was always in those books. So, you know, I get there and they got all of these little kids. You got to feed them milk in the morning and graham crackers. And, you know, we assisted the teachers. It was 4 of us. 30 days later, they called me in and said, we need you to be in charge of the other 3 girls. What? What does that mean? First job. Every job I've had since, I've been promoted to lead others. And I didn't realize that until maybe 5 or 6 years into Horizon. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've always done this. It's a gift. It's what I do very naturally. Not because I like to be in charge, which I do, but
that's hard to tell in you, but okay,
it's
I'll go with you
basically
there.
because of how I treat people. And my philosophy in business is no different than my philosophy in life. You got to be honest with people. They got to be able to believe your word. And you got to do what you say you're going to do. The word tells us, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And do you know that's a journey throughout your whole life? There are moments now when people say stuff to me and I go, dang, I really want to say no. But they really want me to do this. I'm gonna help y'all with something today. If you want to say no, say no. Because yes and no are equally powerful if they come from a place of truth. If they come from any other place, it doesn't matter which word you use, it's not true. And this is a work for me. I'm still working on it. I went through something this weekend that I didn't want to do, ended up doing it. And finally I said, you know what, Wanda, be impeccable with your word, be honest. And I had to tell her, listen, you know, I've known you for 50,000 years, and every time I turn around, I become your way of not spending expenses on your own job. You always stay with me, you always have me pick you up at the airport, you always have me drop you off, and then we go to a restaurant and you wait for me to pick up the tab. Old Wanda used to be like that. New Wanda says, you need to find another alternative to the airport on Sunday because I have plans and I'm not going to shorten them just so I can give you a ride. You know what her response was? Because you know me, inside, I said that very confidently, didn't I? Inside, I was like, I hope she still likes me. I hope she understands that I'm just trying to be good to myself. She said, you know what, Wanda, you're right. She said, no, I appreciate it, and I will find an alternative. I'm like, huh? It was that easy? See, we make it harder. In our mind, we have created the end from the beginning. And it's never going to be as worse as we think it is in our heads. And truly, when it's worse in here, please don't speak it out of your mouth. Because then that's where the power is. You can think it and then refix the thought, but the minute it comes out of your mouth, you have already, I always tell people, you start the ball rolling then, because you know, you can't get it back. You need to tell some guy you love him when you really don't, but he's smelling good at the time and the muscles are tight. You can't take that back. He's taking that and running with it, and how you going to fix that? I'm telling y'all stories I shouldn't be telling.